today and say thanks, if nothing more than just for the privilege to be able to pray to you and believe in you and ask you for the guidance to help us continue to live in the greatest country and the greatest society that's ever been seen on earth. And we've done that because of your blessings, Lord, not so much of what guide us with direction and vision for the future. And Lord, we know we come up short sometimes in your service, and we just ask that you would forgive us for that and help us to see our way clear to do a better job. Lord, thank you so much for protecting us with our first responders that rush into danger when the rest of us are going away. They've made such a tremendous difference in our lives over the last year. Our medical people, our police officers, our firemen, the people that protect us day in and day out. Lord, we'd ask that you'd bless our country. We thank you for the bounty of the rain, and we ask all these things in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Y'all join me in pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. Do we have any public comments for anyone in the audience? Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. I ask the board to review that and offer a motion for approval or clarification.
I have a question on number 12.
Yes.
Maybe Mark can help me with.
Yep.
On the, that JP site building, 8259, do you know if that invoice there, do you know if that's a final invoice?
No, I do not, and I just visited with Mr. Hampton right before court and asked if we approve this, to hold payment until I have a chance to inspect these buildings.
Well, that building is not complete.
Okay.
There's no,
And I don't
they've not
believe
finished
the-
putting up the metal trim or anything on
I
it
don't
yet,
believe
so.
the EMS building is complete either.
Question.
Yeah, so, we can either pull it and put it back on next week, or,
I'd like to,
let's go ahead and pull it.
I'd rather pull it.
Just those two payments, the others are
I have not had a chance to
Then let's pull it.
pull it.
Pull it.
Any others? Chief McFerrin, you may, or well, not Chief Rutledge, one of y'all. How come I thought we usually bought things at Lowe's, you all got builders supply on here to add an account, add their builders lumber? Is there something
They
special?
had, they went over to get the material to rebuild the trailer bed against the longer lengths, and we didn't have an account there. There was a county account, but it went to precincts and stuff, not one separate from the sheriff's office.
There is some items that they carry that Lowe's and Home
Yeah, we'll get
Depot don't
those
carry,
cattle
so.
guard timbers there that go, the bumper
That
boards.
was, the main reason was they was trying to get the lumber to rebuild a flat trailer.
Best, you know, variety of lumber, anybody around, so, okay, good enough, I was just curious about that. Any other questions?
And one other question, on
Yes,
number
sir.
11,
Yes, sir.
I've got a question on that.
what are, I mean, are we paying them $150 a tank to monitor it? Because normally your propane company will monitor your tanks for part of selling you the propane.
I think they will if you're regularly using, but those are, to support those generators. And so they're not selling us, you know, fuel every month to run them, and I'm gonna guess that's why.
And is that consisting of? I mean, that's through the sheriff's department then?
No, that's for, emergency management. That has to do with supporting the generators at two power locations.
So it's not something we can't monitor our own level or check a gauge? I mean, I'm assuming we're paying them $150.
A year to do that.
Aren't we doing a regular startup?
That's part of it, it's all programmed.
Oh, Well, yeah, it doesn't say that, it just says monitor the tanks.
Yeah, it makes it look like they're just gonna go check it.
If you all would like, I don't know, Mr. Burgoyne's on the call in, but we can certainly call in and ask you to come back and answer that item.
Mr. McGowan, are you on the call?
He was at that crash scene.
I called him and asked him to
Okay.
come here on that.
Well, is there any reason we couldn't get that information and bring it back next week, Judge?
No, it's not that issue.
I mean, it's not a,
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to go ahead and have it done, and figure out what the deal is, but
you try to sell or it's off.
Charlie's office. Let me look up this.
Judge, he was out on that hazmat spill.
636, 8469.
he was out on that spill.
82, earlier, that hazmat
Yeah.
situation, he was out there earlier.
They're turning.
He still be there, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was it again?
636. 8469.
Hey, Lee? Hey, Lee, this is Nancy. Can you call me on the conference bridge for Commissioner's Court and Washington? Okay.
Judge, wasn't it Ben Franklin that said if you'll watch the $150, you don't have to worry about the 150,000 ones? Or something like that, I don't know.
I think it's called penny wise, pound foolish, you know.
Yeah, that too.
He'll be calling in just a minute.
Okay.
Will, on 13, is that the inside or the outside at the gun range on the paint, do you know?
That's the outside.
Oh, okay, the exterior deal, okay.
Painted to match the rest of the buildings.
Okay, I knew that was gonna be part of the overall program.
Okay, it's charged against building maintenance and.
That was charged against the gun range project, not against LEC.
Mr. McGowan? Yeah, there you are, okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Pincannon, there's some questions about your item, with number 10, about wanting the, I'm sorry, not.
11.
11, about the $150 per tank for the monitoring.
Yes.
Would you, there were some questions Commissioner Pincannon had, some.
Okay.
Yeah, on that, what are we paying for? Is this something that they're coming out and doing? I mean, usually on a propane tank or something like that, they check keep your tank topped off full year round anyway, just as part of doing business. Why are we paying for additional?
I believe
Additional
that's for remote monitoring,
Yeah.
like through wireless.
Okay, so it's like basically like an alarm system then?
I can't hear you.
Basically like an alarm system monitoring? Okay,
Yeah, it's been in there for a couple of years. And they've been doing it and they've been billing us and we've been paying for it. They just never had a written agreement.
okay, that kind of makes some sense.
Yeah.
There's just a monthly charge on the monitoring. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that now. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for coming out. I know you're tied up in an operational thing right now, so.
Judge, motion to approve.
Second.
With the removal of 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on consent agenda items? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. I'm gonna ask that we'll go ahead and consider item number time, and I do apologize for other guests that are here, but I want him back in court. This was item number 4 is discuss, consider, and take action on the removal of COVID-19 masking practices in county buildings, facilities to be consistent with Governor Greg Abbott's recent executive order, GA 36. Judge Bernard, we got some guidance last week from the Office of Court Administration. If you want to go through that, and then also we had a local order we've adopted and submitted for approval, was approved even with COVID procedures.
We were discussing at judge's meeting today, what portions of the courthouse apply to the court system and the judiciary, and essentially all of the second floor is consists of the courtrooms. Now that includes the DA's office, of course. I'm talking about the third floor. Now the second floor also covers mostly the courtrooms, and so we're under orders not only from the governor, as everyone knows, but also from the Texas Supreme Court. And the judiciary is basically under orders from the Texas Supreme Court. The Texas Supreme Court has not made a ruling yet and has not given an opinion yet as to opening up the courthouse to meetings and hearings that are live. Well, California and New York have chosen to basically shut down the court system. Texas has been very active in their judiciary and having Zoom hearings, and that's what we're doing. Right now, I've been very busy doing Zoom hearings. Not quite as busy as I was doing live hearings before COVID, but we've got a lot of accomplishment. We have not, unfortunately, had any jury trials, and I'm very backed up, as are the other courts, in trying these jury cases that require a jury trial, been requested by the defendant. I had 7 cases I was prepared to go forward with this time last year, but I could not. I will try the first jury trial in Wichita County since COVID, beginning June 7th. And I have no alternative but to try that because that involves a situation, a civil commitment, and the defendant will be released from prison in July. And without having this hearing, this trial under the civil commitment statute, I could not, I could not try him, because once he's released from prison, he's a free man. So we're required to do this, and that's why I'll be trying the first case. In the meantime, I would anticipate that the Texas Supreme Court will come out with an opinion between now and June 1st. Right now, I want to read what the Supreme Court's 36 emergency order states that courts may take a reasonable action to avoid exposing court proceedings to the threat of COVID-19, including requiring compliance with social distancing protocols and face coverings worn over the nose and mouth. As stated in Attorney General Opinion KP 0322, judges possess broad inherent authority to control orderly proceedings in their courtrooms, and pursuant to that authority, they can require individuals in the courtroom to wear facial coverings and may require any person entering the courthouse in which they preside to wear a facial covering while in the courthouse. The executive order issued today does not alter the Supreme Court's current emergency order, the ability of a judge to control his or her courtroom, or requirements of those entering a court building who will be attending a court proceeding. As the Supreme Court's 36th emergency order expires on June 1st, a new order is expected in the coming days. That's good news. That means that, in my opinion, that the Texas Supreme Court will come out sometime this week and will give us some guidance, and I would expect them to open up the court hearings to live hearings, and that doesn't mean we'll do away with Zoom hearings. I think it'll start out slowly, be half and half. In this jury trial that I'm to hear in June, I'm going to select the jury panel at the impact, and then I'm Judge McKnight, who has twice as big courtroom in the 30th as the 78 and 89. That will allow more spacing and a safer situation. We would anticipate that we're going to have a fairly difficult time at certain times with panel members not wanting to serve because of COVID. So there'll be fewer people to show up. I've asked for a bigger pool because of that situation, and I think we will be able to have a jury trial in early June. And I think that will be the start of a lot of jury trials. We would anticipate in the next 4 years that we will try a number of jury trials, maybe 2 cases in 1 week if necessary. So we'll try to catch up and all that, but the bottom line is, and what I think is going to happen, and I hope is going to happen, is the Texas Supreme Court will finally make a ruling and say, we're going to open up the courthouse and we'll start as usual beginning in June. So that's pretty well covers what is being done at this point in time. Now, if for some reason the numbers go up quickly this week, that may change things, or the Texas Supreme Court may not make a ruling. So, but right now, that ruling lasts until midnight, June 1st. So that's what we're in the prior orders concerning that. So that pretty well covers it. Any questions?
It would be probably a fair statement. The governor's order really acts only on those buildings, which is pretty similar to what we have the order in place right now, which is in those buildings with courts in, then the Supreme Court order takes place. So,
That's
but
true.
on first floor here, kind of same thing we went through when we first had the annex under that, back in the right to carry thing. So, first floor, and unless we feel that's going to be too difficult to separate, first floor you could go on, do your limited amount of business there without a mask. If you're going to go above it, then if you've got any business on second or third floors, you're going to need to have a mask on.
I hope that's, and I believe that's an accurate interpretation of what, if you take the governor's order and what the Texas Supreme Court says, I believe that's accurate, but I think that's going to change by June 1st.
And I would think that would apply in JP Precinct 2 and JP Precinct 4 since they have a common entrance. Now, JP 3 is at a separate point of that building. There's not a common connection there. So it would seem like to me it would only apply in the JP area.
Well, let me be clear, Judge, are you anticipating that the mask rule is gonna go away?
I think so. I think so.
But you could still require it in your courtroom, could you not, if you felt the need?
That's, I don't know, that'll depend on what the Texas Supreme Court tells us to do. I think what might happen is be discretionary, that I will tell anyone in my courtroom or in my office, my staff's offices, that we would like them to wear a mask. But subject to what the Texas Supreme Court says, we may not be able to do that. So right now, we're kind of premature. We're a week away from what I think is going to happen. But that's my best guess of what's going to happen. The numbers have been down in Texas, so I think we're getting ready to open up.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is a wide discrepancy on what's going on, even in Wichita Falls. I'll be the only one wearing a mask, or I'll have a mask in my pocket when I go to see my grandson play baseball. And out there at Kiwanis Park, there'll be 300 people. And I'm the only one that has a mask that I could wear if I, you know, right then and there. They leave theirs in the cars or at their houses. So that is a younger crowd. As everyone knows, they pay less attention to the mask rule. Also, if you go on United, I was in there the other day on Jacksboro Highway, I would say about half and half. You go in Home Depot, I'll be the only one with a mask. So, you know, that's, it just depends on where you go and where, you know, what's safe, if you think that a mask helps you. We have different people doing different things, so.
Well, I think we ought to require everybody to wear it too, but I still raise a little cotton for a hobby. You use a lot of cotton, so I don't think wear two at a time.
I think pretty soon. I think pretty soon there's gonna be a wholesale selling of masks, because everyone's accumulated quite a few of them and haven't used them, so, you know, who knows? But, I believe that the mask has been a good rule, and I think it's something that's protected, Texans.
Well, I've been told I look a lot better with it on now.
I've been told that too, my wife told me that.
Well, they make, when we go in here, they make a good doily.
Trying to read through all these documents from the Office of Court Administration, the Supreme Court, and the governor, it certainly looks like Commissioner's Court's been taken out of the ability to make that ruling. It looks like it's been left to the administrative judge.
I'm sure you guys hate that, but, I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm reading it, and it looks like from the directive we got this morning from the OCA is it looks like they're saying fully vaccinated persons should not be required or encouraged to wear a face covering, and fully vaccinated individuals should not be required to socially distance, but courts should not inquire about vaccination status, as this is information that is private information.
That's right.
So that looks like that's going to be the ruling coming up next week, if I'm reading what we got this morning correctly.
Well, how would you ever determine?
Well, you can't.
Well,
It's contradictory.
You can
It
carry
is
that
all
far,
contradictory.
But that's an invasion of privacy.
Well, it's just like, it's HIPAA, is what it is. It is, without saying it's HIPAA, but what they're saying is, judges do not inquire.
Yeah.
That's a violation of HIPAA, and so, you know, we cannot inquire about that. So you don't know who's been vaccinated, who has, you know, has or has not.
So if someone entering this building and they're stopped and said you need to have a mask on, or Sheriff would like you all to weigh in on is, or if you're going above the first floor, you need to have a mask, and that person would say, well, I've had my shots. Then there they go, is the way that sounds.
Well,
Without proof.
the governor's order was pretty clear that city and county governments cannot be involved in that decision-making anymore. So I don't quite understand why we're gonna, as a county, keep our order, because
Well-
it says that we can't.
Not
It-
our order,
no.
not order. It's the
Supreme-
order of the Supreme
But
Court.
right now, we still, as a commissioner's court, still have a court order to wear masks. So
No,
we don't at all?
to me, that order rescinded our order.
Yeah.
What's in place, though, is Supreme Court order, Executive Order 36, which says buildings, if you go,
Okay.
I have additional copies of.
So county-
Order from here this morning.
Well, I'm just going from our
It
last
leaves
court
the
order. Our
authority
last
to
court
the-
order
the
showed that.
administrative judge to make that ruling as to what
So-
reasonable,
So right now, the ball's all on his court.
that's the way I
Well,
understand it.
no, I think the sheriff's still gonna be involved to some extent at the jail, is he not?
It's a
Yeah.
jail, that's a completely
Well, there's
different issue.
inclusions on jail, schools, and congregate living areas.
That's right. If you read what the ruling is on that, that is, they make exception to law, jails.
It would
So-
be nice if they would include it in the court system, right, no doubt. Sheriff, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think the mask thing is ridiculous, yes, me, that's my personal opinion. As a sheriff, it's still a ridiculous idea to wear a mask. Once you've been vaccinated, we're vaccinated from the people who may have it, who end up having COVID. So that's why I got the vaccination, to keep you from getting it, these guys. And like the judge said, you go to certain stores, and most people aren't wearing them. There's some people, and it's to each his own. If you wanna wear a mask or wanna put a plastic bag over your head, I don't care. But,
Certainly keep you from getting COVID, but.
yeah, keep you getting COVID, sure, I'm just saying. But the point I'm concerned is, I know the courts and the district, state courts, district courts are dictating what the district courts have to do, but our jail staff in the jail are still wearing them because we don't have everybody that works in the jail and has had it. So I'd rather protect them by making them still wear their mask, protect everybody still, including the inmates, and they have had a shot as well, so. To me, it's just, can't wait the next 6 months to get by so we can get past something else. Maybe in the 2 years, we get some other elections and all that stuff.
Well, what do you see with the problem at first floor, which I think should be, it appears to me it should be open, but if you're going above the first floor, then you're in the courts area covered by the court order. And, by that, so.
How do we even police that, though?
That's just it, unless you get somebody stand there, tell them they're asking to leave, then you're gonna get in the issue with somebody, hey, where you support that.
Well, we have masks at the door. If they don't say, I've had my shots or whatever, they're gonna go above, we give them the mask. And when they enter that courtroom, that judge can stop them there and say,
Sure.
excuse me, if you're coming in here, you're gonna have a mask on. If you don't have one, go get it or go down, I've got a fair number of boxes of them stacked up.
Yeah, I have to go downstairs and get mine.
Well, the Supreme Court order
One thing,
says,
Executive Order G834 talks about wearing face mask coverings and so forth, but it also states, and this is the newest ruling, or Executive Order, certain entities are permitted to impose increased restrictions, including county judges in areas with high hospitalization, businesses, nursing and long-term care facilities, public schools, and county and municipal jails. So, the court has given us some leeway concerning that situation. So you're certainly doing the right thing.
Yeah, I just wanna keep everybody protected best we can that way.
Anything further?
No, sir, I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
so our Commissioner's Court order is no longer in effect, it's the order of the district judges.
It's the order of the Supreme Court of Texas.
No, that's not the way I'm reading it, Judge. It says if the local administrative district judge or presiding judge of a municipal court or applicable adopts in consultation with the judges in the county or municipal court buildings a minimum standard health protocols for the court proceedings and public attending proceedings that will be employed in all courtrooms throughout all public areas of the court buildings, including masking, social distancing, and both. But it has to be ordered by
But didn't they basically say
Administrative
that
judge.
they would stand with the Supreme Court's ruling?
Right, and that's what the plan that was submitted by the Administrative Board of Judges was sent down to the 8th Judicial District Administrative Judge and went up. So it's somewhat semantics, Commissioner, but yes, it's the local order here that still maintains that until June 1st. And then June 1st, that authority goes away. Now, kind of funny, you read in Paxton's 0322, every judge can continue to require that in their courtroom. Sounds like
Yeah,
to
but
me.
they can't ask the question if they've been vaccinated or
Right.
not. But
Yeah, that's,
they can't require a mask. They can require it if they're not vaccinated, but they can't ask if they've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
So this is all clear as mud.
yes, sir. It's consistent with the rest of the clear as mud orders where the city got off. And God knows 181 of them are working on more unclear laws.
Well, the good news is anybody that wants to wear one can wear one.
Yeah, and that's
Just,
Yeah, and that's
and
right.
it sounds like Office of Court Administration, that's what they're looking at doing from reading the notification that came out this morning.
The sad thing is
We're
we're
a
sitting
week
here
early.
like we have for the last year and a half trying to make decisions about something which we have no technical data on whatsoever. We have no, a year later, we're still, well, I don't know, it might work, but it might not. And that's a tough way to make a decision, when you really don't know.
No, you do the best you can do.
You do the best you can do.
You're right. Okay. Chief, the only thing I see is what you all decide to do on entry in the first floor. I would think that area should be,
But if they come up, say they're going to Lori's office, they have to have one there?
that's part of the courts. What the judges, what we've said is second and third floor are predominantly courts and courts associated offices.
Okay.
So if they're gonna go above the second floor, then they need to have a mask.
Okay.
And I think we've got several boxes, big boxes still of those.
We have some.
There's gonna be a huge surplus of masks floating
Yeah,
around
they're-
here in a few months.
I think Dave's recommending ear tags.
Ear tag.
Yeah.
Somebody will take that eye on that horse medicine, you won't have it anyway, so.
Okay, so is it agreeable, there's no action to be taken by the Commissioners Court, other than we will follow on the third and fourth, second and third floors in this building, and in the other buildings with courts, it will continue to be the same rule, you must mask up, or have had your shots to come in there.
As long as, right now, there is no Commissioners Court order covering mask, period.
I would say, yeah, we've been voided with that.
That's
Okay.
what I want to make sure that we're not the ones
Because
opposing.
if we do, I'm still going to vote against it.
Then-
I'm just saying.
A motion, then, that would rescind any Commissioners Court order being issued.
Well, I'd make a motion that
I'll
we,
second that.
And that, but we do recognize the order.
of the Texas Supreme Court.
Of Texas governing courts and courts buildings.
I would make a motion that we rescind any kind of county commissioner, county court.
I think that's
Order.
consistent
Yeah.
with anything you can get any consistency out of, all the documents that we've been provided with.
To be in, I'd say to be in alliance with the
with-
governor's order.
And the Texas Supreme Court, and Office of Court Administration.
And yet, if you go out to the Mexican food place next to the mall, there's a sign on the front door that says by Commissioner's Court order.
No, there's no Commissioner's Court order. That's just,
Do we have to have a caveat in there about Will doing what he needs to do, separate and apart? I mean,
that's in the governor's order. They have that ability in straight up in the
Right.
governor's order.
Yeah, I don't guess I'm worried about anybody wearing them, I just want everybody to own a bunch of them. That's the deal.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon.
I think it's backwards.
Oh, was it? Okay. motion by Commissioner Fincannon, second by Commissioner Beecham, rescinds the court order from the Commissioners Court is revoked, dealing with, mask requirements, except where the Supreme Court 36 emergency order allows the requirement of masks. Any other comments or questions?
One other. So if that's the case, then he was expecting that they might put out something this week. So if that were to come out this week, then at that point, the courts would be clear.
If
they were to put out that.
Send that there, then yeah, then it's.
We wouldn't have to do anything else through the court.
We would supersede.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
right.
OCA, when they come back out that next week, then that would supersede this order.
Well, hopefully they're gonna come out with something this week, because next Tuesday is June 1st.
Right.
And they wrote the email I forwarded to you all this morning, because I called the 8th Administrative District Judge's office to get guidance from them, and they sent that, it was dated May 20th, so they've had some time to work on that.
Okay.
Any other comments, anyone on this? Okay, all in favor, signify aye. Aye, opposed? Zero. Motion passes 5-0. All right, now let's go down to quickly review and approve the emergency rotor bills for payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on the bills? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, now, something a lot more fun and entertaining. Receive presentation of ag volunteers and ag extension agents on commencing agri-life excuse me, fogging up here, to consumers. Thank you, Ms. Gray.
You bet. Thank
Thank you all for your patience.
Yeah, that's fine. We appreciate you letting us come and speak this a little bit. First, before we get into something, one of our programs, I will introduce Amber Harrigal. Stand up, Amber. She's gonna be a new intern for us for this summer. And so she's going to WP, West Texas A&M, and she's gonna be partially funded by them and also by AgriLife Extension to help do that. It'll be all of June and July. So we really appreciate her coming in that. So she's gonna go with Katrina, 4-H agent, with myself, a little bit with Heather Simpson, the DOT agent too. So we're looking forward to that, and we're gonna run her through the ringer. And she just wanted to kind of get an idea of what AgriLife Extension is. So we're looking forward to that, and we're thanking for coming. Yeah. So what I want to do is bring some of our 4-H and volunteers to help explain what they helped put together recently with what we call Farmapalooza. And the purpose of that was to help kids, and hopefully they share with some of their parents, of the connection between agriculture and just daily consumption of our people. And so we've worked with that. Katrina and I have worked trying to put that together. Also, Heather has been involved, and then we've been real fortunate that Katie Ford with Burke Boys and Girls School was very instrumental in helping us get that set up and put together, help host that, and help us get it done. But had a really good, we think, event, about 260 kids, 220 kids that actually went through the event that day. We had 6 different stations that they rotated through with cattle, pigs, wheat, cotton, healthy living. And then also one that was Dr. Be Healthy here, who's going to speak to you in just a minute, and just about the connection between the agriculture and the medical field, and some very interesting some things there. But anyway, I think it was a really good session, and so only because we had 7 or 8, maybe 10 volunteers, adult volunteers, and 7 or 8 4-H'ers that volunteered and helped at each station. We had 14, I think we had 14 sessions that we ran through them, And so the 4-H kids were able to actually they were doing some of the whole thing by the end, because they were well versed on it anyway. But anyway, just did a great job, but I've asked some of them that helped that day, just to kind of, tell just a little bit about what they did and what they saw of it. But Colton Scarborough, he was actually Dr. Be Healthy, wore a white frock, had a stethoscope on him, and just did a great job. Colton, tell us a little bit.
You can take that mask off while you're talking, right?
So, I was teaching kids about basically how agriculture ties into the real world, like medical wise, and like everyday stuff you don't even know about. Like, I bring for discussion kids with this one. Cake mix, like yellow cake mix you find like at the store or something, Walmart, is made with like animal blood and stuff like that, like glue, bones, something weird like stuff like that. So I was teaching kids about this stuff and like how healthy stuff is. Like people use like animal parts, like organs, for replacements for other people, for real people, and like all that other stuff. Like they make insulin with animal parts, stuff like that.
What was the most interesting thing that the kids learned, you think? Surprising for
The
them?
surprising was the cake mix and all that stuff. I don't think that was their favorite.
Yeah.
They haven't eaten dog food then, have they?
Sometimes it's not wise to read all the labels. I want to brag on Colton that he did such an excellent job. It wasn't really a table he ran by himself, and we kind of threw him into it because I knew he had that personality to really take on that role, and he was great with all those kids. He handed on some homemade slime, and so each kid that came up, he asked them their name, he complimented them about something, and so he made that real personal contact with each of those kids. It wasn't just the Boys and Girls Club, we had third graders, all the third graders from Overton Ray walked across the pasture and came and participated.
Yeah, and part of the reason for making slime is made with the glue, and that's one of the products that comes from animals, is from glue. So, Dale Locke, who's long-term involvement with agriculture, he's with Atterbury Grain. He's actually the superintendent for this area for Burke, Wichita Falls, and we were just fortunate that he could come and you might just tell them a little about what your station was and what he did. Thank you, David. You're welcome.
Well, I was in charge of, with a young 4-H'er, Morgan, we were in charge of explaining to these children how the farmer starts working the soil, plants the wheat, brings it to harvest, and the John Deere dealership was kind enough to bring a combine out there, so we got to explain a little bit of the combine and how they worked and all of that, and then had a little quiz on what could be made from wheat after it was harvested, and then we played a little game of taking wheat to a grain elevator or taking it to the flour mill to have the flour made, and you could really tell the difference in the kids that were actually farm kids and the ones that were town kids, because the town kids really got in there and listened real closely to what we had to say, and I think it's just a good deal. I grew up in 4-H up in Kansas from the time I was 7 until I was 18, and it just teaches children a lot of stuff, and I think these are good programs for kids to have and everything for the communities, because city kids just don't know this stuff, and it's good for them to know where the products are even come from. So I was just glad that David was asked me to help, and I'm more than willing to do so with anything to do with 4-H and the kids. So, but I think the most intriguing thing was when you asked them what could be made from wheat, none of them would ever say flour, just bread. That was it.
They missed a step in there, didn't they?
Yeah, Katie Ford, who's the director at the Burke Boys and Girls Club, and she was kind of the one that helped get the wheels in motion and discuss this. And She works with 70-something kids there?
Yeah, right now, our numbers are low, so hopefully this summer will be
Yeah,
increasing.
but she was real helpful on that, thank you.
Thank you guys for letting us work with you, because it was an absolute treat to have you there. We have 7 race garden beds right now at the Burke Burnett Boys and Girls Club, thanks to, of course, David's help, Heather's help for Better Living for Texans. We've also worked with FFA to get those up and going. Heather was able to make spinach quesadillas for the kids. So we have spinach in the garden that they were able to see. She was able to show them how to make it even from home to where they could make their own spinach quesadillas, and they got to try them, and they actually liked them, which is a shock, because what kids like spinach, right? So that was a fun station. Dr. Be Healthy, the kids absolutely loved it. I don't think any of them want to eat yellow cake mix again, but they all had a blast telling their parents, especially their mom, hey mom, your night cream has animal brains in it. And so I told them, it just makes your mom smarter, we need that. So, they had a blast with that. The cows and pigs, of course, having live animals there is always a treat, especially whenever most of our kids are in the city, they don't get exposed to cows and pigs that often, so they had a blast with that. The wheat was really interesting because kids don't realize whenever they go to the store and their moms pick up bread, especially, I know my own kid she's just turned 7, but she didn't realize the whole process that goes into making wheat. From growing it, which we have some in our garden bed so they could see how it grows, taking it and processing it, that was a whole life lesson for them to see how much work goes into the foods that they get at the grocery store. And the cotton gin, they were enthralled with the cotton gin. That was the one thing I said, what did you learn today? She was 6 at the time. My corn chips have cotton oil in them. Where's the cotton? So every kid learned something different. They were talking about it for days and cannot wait for the next Farmapalooza. So thank you very much, David, your whole team. I appreciate it.
Anyway, thank you all very much for coming, because you can't do this without lots of volunteers, and they just did a great job. Some Master Gardeners helped in that, but we think we got the message across to some of them. Is the value of agriculture and how it touches your life every day. I don't think people catch that. Anyway, thank you all for supporting us.
Great idea, thank you.
You did.
Thank you.
Hey, David, just, you've got that seminar this week on the plants that were
Trees,
damaged.
yeah, tree and shrubs.
Is that gonna be
It's tomorrow
recorded?
evening. Yeah,
Is that-
tomorrow evening at 6 at the Midwestern State University there at the Dillard.
Is that gonna be recorded by chance?
We can, I just hadn't even thought about doing that, so, yeah, we may have Zoom, we'll have Zoom there, so we've not promoted that.
If
but-
you Zoom it, the Zoom will record it.
Yeah, and that's, we're gonna do that, so, yeah, it'll be recorded, yeah.
Is it at the outdoor center?
Pardon?
At the outdoor center at Midwestern, or
No, it's there at the Dillard College of Business Administration.
the big one? Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Dillard College, so, yeah, we've got about, probably a little over 40 or 50, I think, signed up right now. It's in now, but yeah, everybody should come out. We're gonna have one of our specialists from A&M is gonna be up here, and he's been working with Texas Forest Service and Neil Sperry and some of that across the state, and said it is unbelievable what they're seeing from the damage. And one of our big concerns, or their concerns, is when we do hit this heat, which we will have, is because we've got so much fresh vegetation, because those plants are trying to compensate for the damage that you're seeing a lot of fresh foliage on everything. And that foliage is what helps produce food for the next winter. It helps store food. And so our concern is if we get this hot wind, if it's just gonna desiccate all of that view, and then we're gonna have another whole set of problems develop. So anyway, more complicated than what I would thought. But yeah, you're welcome. Free, come on. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Colton, good job, buddy.
Very good. Very good.
Judge,
It's nice
and
to
I-
know who runs Atterbury Range.
Well, I
Yeah.
will comment on Gene and Patsy Jordan. Colton's
Yeah.
grandparents are here today with us, longtime supporters of 4-H and FFA.
Absolutely.
So thank y'all for coming, Gene and Patsy.
Dale, we got a wheat crop out there if we can just get it cut.
We can just keep the white combines out of it.
I'm just telling you,
I
we're,
was worried about all the four-legged ones all winter
it,
long.
I'm not sure it's not as good as I've ever seen.
It is.
The weather conditions have just been excellent. And the report from Kansas last week is everything but the far western side, they're in the same shape. So, boy, let's get it gathered. Yeah. Very few times we've seen a good crop and a good market at the same time, and that's important, so, yeah.
There's gotta be something to go wrong with that.
And it's probably gonna happen again this afternoon.
Okay. Item number 3 is discuss and take action to authorize county clerk to accept and sign the co-file quote in the amount of $53,996.80 for preservation of Commissioners Court minutes, volumes 1 through 11, and for the county auditor to issue purchase order referencing contract number TexMath-1-8-3602 and report the order on the Tex Smart Line system with project funding from 2021 budget line 100.409.5001 capital expenditures to a budget line assigned by the county auditor. And this is what Ms. Bohannon had talked to us about, and we decided it'd be better to go ahead instead of continuing to wait for that fund. Oh, there you are, Lori, I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
She back there.
Okay. Anyhow, she has recommended, and I certainly think it's a good idea to go ahead forward with that project. Anything else, ma'am?
No, this is just to preserve those minutes that are part of Wichita County's history.
Gosh, that's a lot of money, you know
Outstanding
it?
job on that too, so.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
Make the motion that we approve.
I'll second. Even though it is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, guys. Good grief.
Only be more later.
I don't think the prices are gonna go down.
No, I don't either. It just,
Any other comment or discussion on that item? Okay, that is covered under, that is pre-approved bidding, is why that's listed that way as Texas. So, all right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Item number 5 is discussion of action to approve the Sally Port doors that have been installed at the LEC as an alternative for a $15,000 credit. Mr. Beecham.
Yeah, as we know, we've got the wrong Sallyport doors installed. They were supposed to be a metal door that were brown in color to match the rest of the building. What we have is vinyl doors that are clear and blue in color. We've gone around and around, different thoughts on what to do with these doors. I've maintained all along that I think they should be as designed, but Sheriff's Office likes the new door, or likes the clear doors, so I've asked everybody to be here and give their side and let the whole court decide on what to do. So, Stephen, you want to give us the details on both doors?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Position of gates is whichever door y'all go with. Obviously, get a credit on one, and the other one is covered. Both are high-speed exterior rated doors. Whichever one is decided to go upon with, we will be here to install it and get it done for you.
How many doors are that we're talking about?
Two.
And what's the value of the two doors?
Which ones?
The two blue doors, what are the
Two blue
value?
doors, the subcontractor Lubbock Overhead Door is offering a $15,000 credit.
No, that's not what I asked. What did we pay for the two doors?
I do not have that figure off the top of my head, sir, but probably in the neighborhood of 20,000, 30,000.
So they're not the doors we ordered, but we paid 20,000 for them.
Yes,
Okay.
they are the doors that the subcontract ordered. They are not the doors that are specified by the contract documents.
So if we were gonna, Lubbock Door could potentially then lose more than 15,000 if we decided to change them.
Yes, sir.
So why would it not be a little bit higher credit?
That is the second number that they offered to us after they initially came to us with 10,000. We asked them to offer more up, and they came back with 15,000.
Okay.
Aren't those doors rated with so many cycles? They're supposed to, it's years or something.
Yes, sir. They do have a cyclic rate on them.
A lot of that depends on maintenance, I mean, just the general maintenance of them also.
Generally speaking, they'll come with a rating.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wondering, if we had purchased originally a 100,000 cycle door, now we get a 50,000 cycle door.
I do not have that information on the specified one. The information on the currently installed one is 50,000 cycles per inspection. That's just per inspection, not per lifetime of it.
It might be a lot more.
Well, I'm wondering if, we're giving up a lot of doors. Now, I've heard comments that these doors aren't near as rigid as the steel doors that they are, that a person could penetrate.
They're not rigid at all.
The material is equivalent to a tent.
More thicker than that.
But it's, when he says it's vinyl, it's not like a vinyl coated something, it's like sheets of vinyl. It feels like canvas that's a plastic coated canvas.
Okay.
It's
It's
probably
like a
an
tent.
1/8 thick, heavy, clear vinyl. It's a fabric, so it's not a rigid material at all. They typically design, or in way you typically see these are day doors, so they probably do have a higher rating as far as cycle, because they're made to open and close in warehouses, and not be the typical outside door. There'd be a secondary door outside.
Which then makes me wonder about deterioration, because now they're outside.
UV in a vinyl's never gonna be as long as a steel or a aluminum door.
What's the sheriff reason want to accept this door? Is it time so we can get open, or is it,
It's quick to open.
no, to get the jail open? Is that
Oh,
why?
no, either way, the jail commissions accepts this as a final door, or they accept the other one as a final door. It doesn't matter which one we have up at the time of the jail inspection. I also believe it's because it's outside the secured facility,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter what we put up there.
It does provide an advantage because you can see through it. Do like that feature that it's see-through.
That's probably the best feature we like, is you have probably a 2 foot to 30 inch panel all the way across that you can see through when that door is shut. So you know what's on the other side of that door, whether it be a vehicle or a person or whatever might be there. The opening and the closing of the doors are quick, probably 3 to 4 seconds or up and down, so.
That's with either one of them, but the metal doors do not have clear heat.
They
Yeah,
can,
they can.
we had to, it's an add-on, it's a cost, I think.
The original specified did not have vision panels in them, but you can get vision panels in the aluminum doors. You can get slats that either go all the way across or 10 inches by, some sort of, lots of little slats that you can, or you can have a slat, every other slat, so that you can really see down through it. But that would be a like a plexiglass piece,
Yeah.
not,
But that would be an added cost to us to have vision panels on the doors, on the specified doors.
right.
'Cause they
And
weren't
the
originally
speed, though,
specified.
they were a high-speed door that was specified, so the speed won't be noticeably different between what is there versus what you would get.
If one of those panels gets ripped, is it panel replacement, or is it I'm thinking of the maintenance of it, if there are some sort of how easy can
I
something
don't
work
know if you
from?
take it down and re-sew, because they're like sewn together, if you can re-sew another panel in that portion or not. They're made to break away. They're made to, the intent of them is And where we've used them before is like in, we've done like PPG and some of the plants where a fork truck, there's a sensor on the floor, and when the fork truck gets to that point, the door automatically goes up so that the fork truck doesn't ever have to slow down to open and shut, and it shuts, and then as the fork truck is coming back. But if something go wrong and the fork truck run into it, it just basically literally rips out of the jams, and you have to get off the fork truck and then go and try to straighten it out and get it back. And it's made to run into and break away easily.
With minimal damage. That's another advantage to them, but they can be run over with minimal damage instead of having to replace the entire door every time somebody runs into it.
The reason I ask about the dollar amount is because if we can replace them 2 doors for $15,000 in 2 years because they don't last, then we have $15,000 to do it. But if it's gonna cost us, if that's $35,000 worth of doors to replace it, and we're only getting a $1,500 credit, that was my reason for asking.
15,000 credit.
I mean, a 15,000 credit, but I mean, either way,
Yeah.
because I don't think the durability of them long-term is gonna be as good.
Each panel is individually replaceable, each color that you see there, including the plastic. They connect to the pieces of metal. If you don't mind me accessing my phone, I can pull up, they did send me a quote that broke down the cost of each piece of panel for the existing doors, for if we had to reorder any of those existing doors. Depending on which piece it is, the clear plastic versus the blue plastic, they range anywhere from $360 a panel up to about $800. I believe the clear is about $800.
That's a lot cheaper than an aluminum panel.
And each one of the blue is around $300. And then if something does ever happen to those individual metal aluminum bars, those bars are replaceable as well.
Our history with Sallyport doors hasn't been real good. We hit them every once in a while. Of course, I understand the new facility is gonna be a totally different scenario than where we are, but we've hit them a few times and, happens, I understand. Only time you don't do something like that's when you're not doing anything, though. You gotta remember that. If you're not doing anything, you don't tear much up.
My preference would be to stay with the doors that we had specified initially, but I wanted to bring it to the entire court.
With that, if you said that, though, you suggested those vision panels be put in?
I
place?
would at an additional cost.
And do we know how much that is?
Approximately $2,000.
Okay.
And there will be a series of individual ovals, 10-inch ovals. I think what we have quoted is probably 4 or 5 slats high, all the way across.
I brought a picture.
And that's not the door we have today, has a clear span across it?
Correct.
Right.
It's totally clear for.
The width of the door?
Yeah.
Or about 3 foot
3
up to
foot
about
up.
6 foot is clear
Uh,
all the way across.
Chief, from the sheriff's department's point of view, do you agree with Mark that you'd rather have the steel ones, or?
We like what's up there, this is our point of view.
Really? Okay.
Well,
And-
and I can't throw my body against it and knock it off or
No.
nothing like that.
Your old body, you might.
It'd
Okay.
slow you down, but it would, I mean, if an inmate were trying to escape and go through that door, by the time they could get through the door, somebody ought to have been there and stopped that. Because you're not going to just run into it and it collapse on the floor. You're gonna have to get it, you're gonna have to run into it hard enough and enough
But
to get
it's
it
a
off the
vinyl
track,
door.
to get it off the
It's-
jam.
It's about,
And then you'll have to go through that. Even if you had a knife and you could slice your way through it, it's not like football boys going through a paper banner. It'd slow you down and stop you for a few
A time.
seconds if you had a machete and could rip holes in it or something like that. But it's, if you want my opinion, it's an indoor door, not rated for an exterior door. That's my opinion and what we've used and what we've done in the past. And I'm just not real fond of the blue color.
Well, I saw it. The blue color looks terrible. But you just said something that really affects me. You're saying that somebody could walk up there with a razor knife and cut it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now, Judge, if I may, Mr. Beecham, you're saying your first choice would be not to,
Not to accept it as installed.
okay, because I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
as to-
my first choice would be to go to the doors that were specified originally.
Which means take out what we got and replace them
Correct.
with the window panels.
With the window panels, yes.
But that's not what's on the floor,
That's not,
Yeah.
well,
I don't guess.
either way, by default, if we don't accept the offer of $15,000 in the doors, then we would go back and get the doors that we ordered, or that were supposed to be in the contract, and then we would have a change order to add the vision panels.
I think for all this, they ought to throw those in.
With the, exactly. But they're gonna have to eat
They're gonna
doors.
eat these doors.
So they'll wanna inflate the price of those windows to help cover their expenses on these doors. So we might ought to put it out to bid.
I just want it to
get
work. I mean, you know, and be what we need.
I hate to spend the money for an interior door on the outside of that place.
It's
That to
not-
me doesn't seem like,
We live in some of the most harsh weather conditions you'll find anywhere as far as sun damage and that kind of stuff. That's what concerns me is,
Yeah,
I mean, we're in a harsh environment.
There are some
about 3
advantages
months out
to
of the year.
them. We did sacrifice Matt on the altar of the doors and set him underneath them and shut him on him, and they just folded up.
Really?
They're not gonna hurt somebody if they come down on them like an aluminum door. The aluminum door has would have
There's not
a
a-
sensor to stop it,
yeah.
but, and you're not gonna crinkle it, you're not gonna ruin it if it comes down on a vehicle.
And you're not gonna ruin the vehicle
You're
either.
not gonna ruin the vehicle. That's a big advantage to them. But to me, I still would prefer to have what we specified originally.
Is that a motion then? Or no, actually, your motion would be we take no action on it, or.
Take no action and then by taking no action, then we would default to what was in the contract.
How much are those doors? I mean, these doors cost what and the specified cost what?
he said he doesn't have that number, that's what I
don't have
had.
this number for what we currently have installed, but the cost to Lubbock overhead door for the new doors is just shy of $30,000, about $29,000
For the pair?
for the pair of metal doors that
Yeah.
are need.
Well, on a $70 million project, that's not a deal breaker, really. I mean,
It's gonna be a big chunk for them to eat, but
It's
They-
30% of their contract.
how did we wind up getting here? I mean,
They were delivered, no one checked them.
Oh.
They came way early in the project.
Well, they had that blue was what you saw, and I looked at them, I don't know how many dozens of times, I just assumed it was that blue wrap around that metal.
yeah.
It looked like blue plastic wrap.
Yeah.
What it looked like, yeah.
It was really a blue plastic door. Yeah.
Guys, that's a pretty important part of that operation out there. It needs to be right. I mean, that's a big security deal and,
No,
that's why I brought it to
Yeah.
the entire court. There's pros and cons
Yeah.
going either way. So I guess we need a motion, then we just proceed on and go with, get me the change order, which if it's 2,000, then I can sign it, or the ILCC, that's within my ability to sign and move on. And since you're here, I think, I'll let the judge read the next item, because it's my mind to read.
All right, there'll be no action on number 5 then. Okay. Receive an update, item number 6, receive an update on law enforcement center and elevator project. Commissioner Beecham?
Well, since we have both our builder and architect here,
I can give you, I can give the input on the elevator, wow. On the LAC, we are approximately 96% complete with punch list. We have about 30 some odd items remaining, majority of them being on the roof, and our roofer is en route this week to wrap those up. We have one outstanding item left in front of us before CO regarding the retention pond, and that item got sent to the civil engineer today. He will certify off on that, send it, and I guess there's a process where it gets sent to the city, and then we'll have our CO inspection. We keep cleaning daily basis. We're getting it final cleaned and ready to receive our CO and then get our call for our jail inspection.
so we don't have the CO scheduled yet.
I talked to Bobby over the weekend, and Friday was his last day at the city. Totally, they've got a new building inspector. But, he said, but he will be doing the inspection himself. The new inspector, the new building official said that he would rather, since Bobby had made concessions and different things with us, that for him to go ahead and do it. And we're now just waiting on that, the detention pond certification, and as soon as we get that, I'd asked Bobby to be ready on Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know how long it'll take Karen Merlin to Biggs Matthews Engineering to get that certification.
Okay.
What was the finalized, what do you end up doing with the washer and dryer deal? Was that, do we put enough electrical service into that?
That was taken care of.
That was all added in? Okay. Never heard any more.
Those little items were taken care of by Yates, so.
Just if somebody's wondering what CO is, that's certificate of
Occupancy.
I will say this, thank you, big thank you for everything y'all did last week to get us over the 3 hurdles that we needed to get over. Y'all got busy, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You got the landscaper out, and they did what they were supposed to do. You got Wilson out, got the roads repaired and open quickly, a lot quicker than what was scheduled, and got the detention pond surveyed. We still don't have that completed, but the work's been done, just not turned in. So, thank you.
What's the cylinders break at?
I do not know, sir. All I know is they passed. That's the only information that Wilson gave me is that they passed and we're good to open. And that's what he got from the city. It was a screenshot via a text message from the city that said.
From the city that said they passed?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Contractors or salesmen sometimes.
Don't I know?
Yeah.
Is it working?
So if everything goes well, next week we'll have jail commission in, and
We are tentatively, their schedule is tentatively open for us right now, yes.
okay, on the 1st.
So that's Tuesday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they're here, then I probably will be with them next week. It's gonna be in court. So beyond that, elevator project has stalled.
Which one? The
Hey.
it has stalled. We are waiting on the elevator to get here, which will approximately be around 1st of August. They are tremendously long, near lead items, lead times for their items. The work is, they're nearly got everything else complete on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors around the lobbies and everything. They're not moving very fast because they're not really needing to move very fast because they can't finish up till the elevator gets here in August.
Okay, and elevator here at the courthouse, based on some recent discussions, we've got another proposal on that elevator to open it on the back side of 4 and 5, so we can utilize the space that would be vacated by the new side of the jail if we choose to do away with that.
So it would open
It
on
would
three sides or two sides?
Two sides.
Two sides.
It already opens on two sides, it's just adding the doors on the back side.
Yeah.
The possibility of opening it on the fourth and fifth, both the fourth and the fifth would have a very small lobby area. And with the possibility of being able to utilize the jail side, the new side of 4 and 5, there's much larger area to open it up into a nice lobby if you choose to put courts up on 4 and 5 or anything, because the floor-to-floor ceiling height is much nicer on the new side versus the old side. And since the elevator's already got the capabilities of opening on both sides, we did get a proposal from TK Elevator for adding those 2 doors. Did you got that one?
I've got it, yeah,
Okay.
I just need to put it on.
Will both elevators go all the way to 5 now?
Both elevators will go all the way to 5, but not, both elevators will not open both directions. Just the one new, larger ADA compliant elevator will open both directions. It'll have front doors and back doors. We call that elevator 1.
Is that the one on the left when you walk up to them?
When you walk up to them from the main lobby, the left one will be the big one, and the right one will be the elevator 2 that just opens on the front. But it will go down to the half floor, and so it will be able to go down, as opposed to the one on the right will not go down.
Number 2 won't go all the way down.
Right, number 2 won't go down. Number 1 will go down and up. Number 2 just goes up.
But adding those 2 doors on 4 and 5 to the back side opens up the potential for that huge amount of real estate up there to be utilized in the future, so.
So am I to understand then we're not to be shocked next week when the headline reads Commissioner Beecham in jail, Mrs. Court?
You worked on that one for a while. You just have to sit there and work on that.
Just be ready, in other
Yeah.
words, okay.
If they're here, then I want to be there for that walk around.
If you haven't seen the new plants, if you didn't go by, drop by and see the new landscaping, it's really pretty.
It's much better. I'm still not real happy with the front entrance areas, but it's 100% better than what it was this time last week. The desert willows look outstanding.
We had the last desert willows in North Texas. My wife and I went to a large nursery this weekend, and I asked them for desert willows, and they laughed at me.
They really made a huge difference out there. They're very pretty plants.
Do they work here? I mean,
Yeah, we've got some there.
Yeah, till next winter. No, I'm just.
yeah.
So, nearing the end. Nearing the end. Wow. Thank you.
Anything else on that item? Thank you all for your patience. Okay, item 7, discuss or take action on any disaster-related issues in the county. Boy, that's long.
That's a daily occurrence.
The list is long.
Come back.
Okay.
I did submit the application that's due this Friday. I submitted it last week. And I was putting in all of the, like, your estimates for this and all of them. Well, Corey Walters from FEMA called and said, nope, you need to work on category B only.
What is
That's the only
that?
thing we're accepting, and he explained what category B is. Emergency measures only. So the roads that your team worked on for that week and the water that you had to get out of your barn, that was all I could apply for. And it came to about 8,000 and some change.
Is it too late to apply for damage to our vegetation? 'Cause I just got an estimate last week.
Emergency applies to if it was a danger to
Oh, okay.
residents. You know, like when they worked on the roads,
Yeah.
their roads were
Yeah.
blocked with residents.
How-
Category B is very specific.
But
Have
is
you
there,
estimated that, Mark?
I've got an estimate late last week.
How much
Are
do you
you-
think?
I haven't opened the read it yet, so.
Oh, I know what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah.
Category C will open up soon. and
Okay.
So send all your expenses to me. I'll keep your estimates.
Probably a lower priority, I would assume, as it, yeah,
I'm
get down to the end of the
You're
stack.
saying that the road work we did, clearing roads was,
Well, on those 5
We-
roads that you worked on
Yeah.
that week, I submitted those as helping residents to
well,
get out.
that's what we did. We graded
that
roads
too.
for, I mean, I didn't know that we could even turn that in.
Well,
I
we,
didn't get anything from you all. I just got
Well, that's because I didn't know that,
we cut
Well,
them and
that's-
then we had to put some material back on them too, because they were,
you
Not
say you
good.
cut them.
we cut the ice off of
Yeah,
them,
with the
snow
muddy
off
road.
of them,
Right.
pushed them, and then had to come back in there and put material over them.
See, if you look at a bunch of Tex Dots roads, all of the yellow and white striping is all in the ditch now,
Right.
when they plowed it all off, and that's similar to, except we were plowing off gravel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard not to do that when
Yeah.
you're cutting that hard ice.
Commissioners, I have till Friday, maybe I can edit it, maybe I can add to it if you have things that happened that week.
Because that's what we were doing, was clearing roads for people to get in and out.
Did you have to put any
that should-
material?
No
too?
material back on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all,
But it's, that grader hours and stuff.
I didn't apply for material because you weren't able to put material down
Oh.
that week, so it was mostly, like, you had, grader or dump
Yeah, man,
trucks,
and-
and, you know. just-
we had grader and loader and backhoe running the whole
Yes,
time.
your personnel and equipment, so turn those into me and
Oh,
We cleared
I'll
all
get
the
that
parking
done.
lots and all that,
Well,
2 days. Is that,
I don't know that the parking lots would,
I don't know if it would be a public emergency. You know what I mean?
keep people in juvenile and
Okay.
detention center?
keep the jail running and,
jail
yeah,
and-
yeah. it's-
And we cleared the courthouse and the annex too, but,
Which is still a jail facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll call Corey and
Okay.
ask him.
But anytime we have something like that, you don't know what they're gonna do, that's, start your paperwork, get
Okay.
everything ready, any of those. You never know when they're gonna decide, on what to do. It's kinda like still waiting to figure out what's gonna be good in the American Recovery Act.
Yeah, we had probably 4 days of labor and equipment on that. I'm just clearing,
Yeah, so did precinct 4, they had, from the 18th to the 25th, something like that, or that week you had.
if that'll fly, we'll get it done.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience have anything, where you go? Anyone on the phone have anything to speak about? Okay. Commissioner Beach?
yeah, I want to brag about one of our county family that did something exceptional over this weekend. Deputy Brian Connor started yesterday morning by swimming 2.4 miles.
Wow.
After he finished that, he got on his bike and rode 112 miles. And then when he finished that, he ran a full marathon to become our newest Ironman.
Wow.
He did it in
Wow.
13 hours and 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
And when will he be released from the hospital?
He said, his last thing that he posted yesterday morning was, it's either finish line or body bag. And when he
Yeah.
crossed the finish line, he goes, no body bag for me, so.
Well, that's
My
pretty tough.
So that's awesome, but yeah,
Oh, wow.
that
Yeah.
is quite an achievement to do those things individually. Each one in and of itself is quite an achievement, but to back to back to back, that's incredible.
Note to self, do not arm wrestle
With Brian Connor.
Brian Connor, yeah.
And where does he
Or
work?
try to outrun
Where does he
him,
work?
that's true.
He's in the Public Information Office of Sheriff,
Okay.
Yeah.
works with Melvin Joyner.
Can you repeat though, in what he did, swam, ran, bike.
2.4 miles swim, 112 miles bike, and 26.2 miles running.
I don't know that I could get that done in a
13
I
couple of
drove
weeks.
26 miles yesterday. It was tuckered out, so. Good gosh,
Which
yes.
is, that's an incredible achievement.
That's an incredible feat.
I'm not sure I drive that car.
So hats off. He
Yeah,
is our
great
man.
job.
Ooh.
Okay, anything else, sir?
No.
Commissioner Finnegan?
I believe our guys are finishing up we're hoping to finish our last road on Precinct 2 today. I haven't talked to them again since court here, but I think we're working on Bonner Road. That's our last road, and then I believe we'll be moving all the equipment over to Precinct 4. So hopefully we can get that done and maybe move some stuff while it's raining here the next day or two. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Waller?
No, just taking care of business, trying to desperately get on this mowing of the right-of-ways because it's gaining on us, but it's been so gum wet, you just can't go do it. And we're getting backed up on that, and we understand it needs to be done. We're beginning to get some calls and some comments. We just got to be able to physically go do it, and we will. It's on the list, so just taking care of business. Other than that, just good to be here, even if I didn't run 143 miles yesterday.
Yeah, that'd be a good 2 weeks for
Yeah, that's right. I did walk 2 blocks this morning, so does that count? That's
It's got a 2 in it.
it. Yeah.
So, all right, Commissioner Watts?
Yes, we met David Bates out at the precinct offices last week, and so he's getting geared up and underway, and brought me some samples of some different floorings that'll hold up, and moving forward with that project. So that's going to be nice to get updated and put in some service windows for both the tax office and for Judge Judy. So that'll be nice to get it hopefully started and completed before too terribly long. And I was going to tell you about the fire department. On this weekend, they had the replacement version, Judge, of the goat barbecue.
Right.
And it was well attended, and Mickey and I went out Friday night and judged steaks and salsa. And I mean, my steaks, I scored them all pretty good. I thought they were.
I wish I could have stayed till the end and maybe partaken a whole steak, but but I didn't get to stay the whole time. So.
But it was I think a good. They were scheduled some cornhole tournaments as well there, so hopefully.
Nice to be known as a champion cornhole.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think that's going to serve them well to maybe
Be an annual event.
annual accomplishment. It just had become a difficult project for the chamber, and the workforce is getting too old, and they've got some younger guys in the fire department that can help on that. But all in all, we're ready to take the mill machine here before long and get to rolling with that, and hopefully I guess we're gonna have some grain trucks pack it down, but
It's coming.
that's okay. And that's all I've got, Judge.
Okay. Well, the only thing I had, we are gonna have a Veterans deal on Memorial Day at the county cemetery, be at 8 o'clock, and they got hard up for a speaker, and they're gonna let me do it again, so I'll do that at 8 o'clock. They'll start assembling around 7:30. Generally, they'll have about 50, 75 people out there. Gonna have the honor guard out of Fort Sill, I believe. And so that's impressive in itself. And also,
Do you need a timekeeper for your speech, Judge, or anything, or?
I always believe that, be brief.
I know you will.
I'm gonna find some interesting materials, and because I've done those for several different groups on different times, and ran across some interesting things. One of them was written in 1934, talking about we needed to be citizens before we were anything else, and loyalty to America. Not, and they did a better job. Our loyalty is to the United States of America. We are members of organizations and political parties. But I thought, wow, that wasn't written this year. I'll get that and share it with you all, but number of interesting things. And going back through a file, I thought I only had one file of speeches and jokes, but I had 2 files of that. Got through that just looking for some things in there that I thought would be appropriate. Besides the number, and this was said, I still want to see the numbers, but we had more people die this past year of COVID that died in the wars we've had.
Really?
Yeah, and I questioned that.
Hey, that Civil War was a big deal. Didn't
Yeah,
it still
I
hold
don't
the?
think they counted the Civil War. I think it was
Yeah,
World War I, II.
right. Because the Civil War was still the big.
And they mentioned Vietnam and then the 2 Iraqi wars. But either way we go, that's a lot of people, a lot of loss.
Not to take away from your thunder, Judge, but that just sparked something. We honored our graduates at church yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And we had a young man there from Iowa Park, had been a member of our church, and he graduated from Texas Tech with a degree in history and minor in radical politics.
Oh, my heavens.
And I thought, wow, and I thought, what would we consider radical politics? And I'm gonna try to find out. I'm curious about that.
The other thing I found, and that several of these things like that, radical politics has existed far longer than we realize.
So obviously it was
Everybody else does.
I assume it came with the history degree, so I guess that's kind of, I thought that really caught my attention, though. I thought, good grief, what would you call radical? None of that going on today, for sure,
No. We do have listed discussions on budgets. Willie's working in there with Nancy to get the things together. What we want to do is have a series of going over with you all the budgets that were presented, getting your read on personnel. Most all of it's personnel. The sheriff does have some pretty significant equipment requests in there, and you've seen presentations on those, on body cameras and the other that we need to look at. But personnel is the big thing to be decided upon.
Well, could we kind of discuss just preliminary or get a grip on what we're potentially thinking today? Could we do that? And so we can mull it?
We can. I don't know how much you all have gone through the budgets. I'm certainly open to do that.
Willie had me type up each departmental request, and I can print those out for you all. If I gave them to him to review, so if they're correct, then I can.
I'd just like to get my head wrapped around the main
Well,
pieces
what
of
I'd
it.
like for y'all to do is, I think you've got everybody's presentation in your book. Go through, make your notes for questions in that. And Nancy will give you that summary. Ms. Flores has submitted a request that her personnel be considered along the same lines of the increases requested by the sheriff on his personnel. Friends, I don't know where any of that kind of money would come from, except for some of that, you know, and the sheriff's feeling is that that contract they have with the U.S. Marshal Service, they look for it to bring in more money, but
Isn't that about 800 grand a year?
it's right now, but I believe when we added up what he requested was 1.35 million. And that's, you know, I don't like to bet on the come, and, you know, there's still plenty of expense to that. Even with those people there, that's not free and clear money, that's based on what it costs us per day to keep somebody. So, that needs to be reviewed some more, but most of the other offices, a couple asked for additional personnel. And,
Do we get the roll on August 1st, Judge, or is it?
July 26th.
Okay.
There's a schedule that you all got, that was in the TAC calendar that lists those. You gotta pay attention to mesh those additional requirements now because of the appraisal district's requirements, ours, the window gets pretty narrow.
Mhm.
The slack we've got is in June to go through and go over this, have back any departments that, you know, if we're gonna deny something they're asking for, then I think we need to have them have a chance to come in and try to explain that. But really, everybody's budget was pretty straightforward. You know, like I said, the constables and law enforcement in general had some significant equipment requests when you combine them together to look at. And quite honestly, we don't know what the legislature's gonna do to us. I was on the phone before 7 o'clock this morning calling some reps and senators to try to encourage their support to be against some of the things the Lieutenant Governor and Senator Bettencourt are trying to do to run county government from, or local government from Austin, or deny local government from Austin, whichever way you want to read it. So, we don't have very many more days to go. So things can be slipped in this floor amendment to change the whole color of what looked like the intended legislation was. That's all I've got. So y'all, I mean, Commissioner, if you want to discuss something, but I'd rather we had everybody had the full picture put together. The only other thing is, I had scheduled this week and last week on vacation, but I've been here about puts it up. I'm a little more of that, but I should be in our Wednesday call, and Commissioner Bitch, I'm gonna try to make the LEC meeting Thursday. So, anything else? Willie, did you have anything you wanted to say, or?
No, it's just, I guess, what we need to look at is personnel request. See where we're going with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's outstanding as far as putting the budget together.
Well, we'll start scheduling that, so, you know, and you all need to let us know if morning or afternoon, and I'm gonna have to work around, do my court schedule. I'm gonna be, you know, some odd times, but we'll work it out.
And Willie, you've not worked up any rate worksheet yet, where we're at with, to play with the tax rate at all?
No, I've got it on my desk, I'm starting to look at it.
Until we tell him on personnel.
Yeah, that's the,
You know, it's a guess. I mean, we know how much a penny's gonna be, think it's gonna be worth,
But what we know is the no new revenue rate was, did you calculate that? to be the same with the appraisal increases? What was just apples to apples?
Well, we still have outstanding elements to that, like the TIF payments and the collections for 2020 collections. So we still lack some figures on putting that together.
Just looking at it, it would appear to me that the 2 cents we're talking about increase will almost be the amount of the reduction in that rate. There was an article in the paper over the weekend on what the ISD saw it doing to their taxes. Instead of being 23 cents, they're thinking it's more like 21, 22. So that increased value is going to lower that rate. It's just what we add back to it to do, if we're going to do a salary increase and any capital items. And then we talked about the penny for the additional penny into the permanent improvement fund. So continue on. I don't know what the, certificates of obligation were under attack by the legislature, and whether the tax increment financing will get removed as a short-term investment for counties to be able to make without having a vote on it.
Do we have resolution with the City of Wichita Falls on our justifications of TIF payments? I mean, did we kind of put that to bed?
It's a sleeping dog as far as I know right now, but that doesn't mean they're not researching and looking and trying to come back.
I think Burke's trying to research that a little bit more too, because they're not overly happy with that. They brought it up several times in different meetings I've been in over there, so.
I wish they would look at what they're getting.
Correct.
They're getting a whole lot more than zero.
Right.
That we're giving them. We don't have to do that.
Right.
And the fact that our new policy.
I think it's just the fact that we were giving them here and then we lowered it a little bit,
Yeah.
and they, once you start any kind of handout, they want more, or they don't ever want it to go down.
And
I'll
see-
put it that way.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't
see,
matter
Mickey,
whether
we-
it's an individual or a government agency.
Yeah, we didn't have an INS rate for quite some time.
Right.
It was just all of one rate.
We didn't have road and bridge.
No.
So, but there was some tinkering, I didn't get the bill number, but there was some discussion on that, and I believe it would have supported what we were saying. That those shouldn't be in there because of their, you can make an agreement with any other government, but if it's prohibited by law, that agreement doesn't supersede statutory.
And I talked with them, explaining it to them for a long time, but you could, after all the conversation was done, they were like, they're still trying to research it more. But we can't, there's no reason for the county to lose money, and that's what I tried to explain to them. I said, the county, why would the county want to lose money on helping you out?
Yeah.
So.
Well, we were losing revenue, but we were really losing on committed that I don't think we should have been doing that all along.
Right.
So, but, when we worked with them honoring, continuing agreements, we did that with Iowa Park, we're doing that with the City of Wichita Falls on Pamlico, which is contrary to our new tax abatement policy. But so we try to keep those in good faith, other than we do not include interest in sinking in road and bridge in them. So, all right, anything else? Okay, it is 11:46 and we're adjourned. Thank you.